Bum, ba, 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 bum. Ba, ba, bum, ba, 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 bum. Hey, everybody, welcome to the TNR Sports Show. My name's Trennon. That's Ryan. We got a jam-packed March Madness episode. March freaking Madness. And let me tell you something, Ryan. It was truly madness, wasn't it?
It was chaos. There are a lot of Cinderella stories to talk about.
How was your bracket?
Uh,
Bad? Mine's bad too.
let's not talk about that. Let's not.
Right? It happens. It happens.
It's just
Not worried about it. But the one thing that is consistent is these, oh my goodness, these Arkansas Razorbacks are moving on to the Sweet 16. These Arkansas Razorbacks. Ooh, pig. Ooh. Pig, suey, Razorbacks. But anyway, I don't want to get into that rule. We'll get into that later.
We'll get into it a little bit later, yeah.
So what I'm going to do now is tell you to like, share, and subscribe with your friends. Subscribe on YouTube, give it a like, share, whoever you think would be interested in this kind of thing. Spotify just released Apple Podcasts. Very exciting. I was totally pumped for that. I just found out a couple, literally like 30 minutes ago. So I'm pretty excited about that. If you want to be invested in this podcast and invest in what we're talking about, you got to like and subscribe, people. You got to like and subscribe. Like. And so what do they have to do, Ryan?
Yeah, like and subscribe.
Like and subscribe. All right. Let's really get this thing rolling. I'm going to do the round of 64 first. We'll do the round of 64. So today's podcast is going to be the round of 64. Talk about what games we thought were important. The round of 32, we're going to talk about what games we thought were important. And then we're going to talk about the Sweet 16 and the Elite 8. But we're going to have some announcements also at the end. So we're going to talk about the Sweet 16. But we'll proceed forward. All right. I'm ready. I'm pumped up. I'm excited. I'm going to run off like 500 scores.
I know.
All right. Gonzaga. Here we go. Gonzaga beat Norfolk State 98-55. Oh, my God. This is going to be so much. Oklahoma beat Missouri 72-68. Creighton beat USCB 63-62 in a barn burner. The number 13 seed Ohio beat number 4 seed Virginia 62-58. Our first upset. We got USC 72 over Drake 58 scored 56. I kind of messed that one up. Kansas beat Eastern Washington 93-84. Oregon beat VCU by 1. The game was canceled due to COVID, but for some reason on the bracket app they have them beating 1. I guess they had to. Iowa beat Grand Canyon, sad, 86-74. Michigan beat Texas Southern 82-66. LSU beat St. Bonaventure 76-61. Colorado, not a lot of upsets in this first upper tier of the bracket, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we get some later on, I guess. Maybe I should hold my horses a little bit. All right, Colorado beat Georgetown 96-73. Florida State beat UNC Greensboro 64-54. All right, our next upset, 6 seed BYU lost to 11th seed UCLA 73-62. 3 seed Texas lost to 14th seed Abilene Christian 53-52. What a terrible game.
Big upset. I didn't watch it because I thought it was going to be a blowout, but big upset.
What a terrible, defensively struggling, great defensive game, I guess.
It's insane that Texas lost to a super small Texas school. I mean, that's
right.
Sad.
So, and then we'll keep on going. Number 7 seed UConn lost to Maryland. Number 10 seed Maryland 63-54. Upset there. Alabama pounded Iona 68-55. Baylor beat Hartford 79-55. Slaughter. Kind of an upset. I don't know. They're 8th seed North Carolina lost to 9th seed Wisconsin 85-62. What a slaughter there. 5th rank. No, I'll just keep going. 70. Villanova beat Winthrop 73-63. 13th seed North Texas beat 4th seed Purdue 78-69. 6th seed Texas Tech beat Utah State 65-53. Arkansas beat Colgate 85-68. Slaughter. Florida beat Virginia Tech 75-70. We got the big boy, the one that's got everybody talking. Oral Roberts beat Ohio State 75-72. Oral Roberts with a 15 seed. Ohio State with 2 seed.
Huge.
Illinois beat Drexel 78-49. Loyola Chicago beat Georgia Tech 71-60. Oregon State, man, arguably the best team in the whole tournament, beat Tennessee 70-56. Oregon State was a 12 seed. Tennessee was a 5 seed. Oklahoma State beat Liberty 69-60. Nice. 11th ranked, 11th seeded Syracuse beat 6th seeded San Diego State 78-62. West Virginia beat Morehead State 84-67. 10 seed Rutgers beat the lowly Clemson Tigers 7th seed 60-56. A lot of opinions on that one.
A lot of opinions.
And Houston beat Cleveland State 87-56.
A lot to discuss.
Round of 32 will be a lot easier to talk.
It'll get easier as we go. A couple of games I did want to mention. Obviously, kind of go back to Ohio State, Oral Roberts. What a game! I mean, Oral Roberts hit threes all over.
Oral Roberts lights out of the building.
Oral Roberts is, for all the South Carolina natives here, essentially Charleston Southern. Imagine if Charleston Southern went out and beat Ohio State. That is how big.
They're both Christian schools, I believe, right?
What was that?
They're both Christian schools, right?
They're both small, private Christian schools. Oral Roberts out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. So I'm kind of following along with them. But, I mean, it's insane. Like, it'd be like if CSU beat Ohio State. It's insane.
Right. I watched some of the game. I watched the highlights, and Oral Roberts, man, they've got guys on that team that you wouldn't think. I mean, that whole team you wouldn't think. But here we are, man. Oral Roberts beating Ohio State. We got some funny jokes coming out of Oral Roberts, so good for that. I mean, what a game. I'm disappointed for my buddy Eric, a listener of the pod. He's a big Ohio State guy. I'm sure he was very disappointed. But, I mean, what a shocking.
Yeah.
Shocking. What's shocking is we'll talk about it later, but they beat Florida. So they just on a roll right now shooting the basketball.
They're just small. They're a very small team, but they're fast. They're fast and they can hit 3-point. They can score. I think it was either the first or second most, their highest 3-point percentage in all of Division I college basketball. It was 1 or 2. I can't remember which one it was, but insane. Absolutely insane.
Right. And all right, moving on from Ohio State, what do you think about Oklahoma beating Missouri?
It was a tough win. It was a good win. Missouri's,
not a bad team.
Arkansas had a bad team. They got it down here. They made a tournament still. They're a good team out of the SEC, an old Big 12 rival. Solid win. Not a whole lot to say about it. I mean, when they kind of got their win, it was a tough game. They got out of there.
Yeah, I mean, good for Oklahoma. Not good for the Clemson Tigers. I'm so I'm not going to go on a big rant bashing Clemson, but there are some people in the upstate. Maybe it's because I live down south in South Carolina. People in upstate South Carolina, they sat on Twitter when Clemson lost to Rutgers. And they said, if you don't think the job that Brad Bradnell did this time is good, then you are idiot. Well, I mean, yeah, but the team really wasn't that good. They got a couple lucky breaks. They beat Alabama, they beat Purdue, but both of those teams had bad shooting nights. Clemson, it was a good defensive team, but they lost in the first round of the ACC tournament to a team they shouldn't have lost to. And then they lost to Rutgers, a team they shouldn't have lost to. And at the end of the Clemson game, I don't know if you watched, Ryan, there was a lot of just idiotic decisions by Brad not to foul, or he fouled too early. It was like the craziest choices. I'm not.
How about this?
Brad Brownell ain't going to get fired.
If you were the AD,
I wouldn't fire Brad Brownell. Absolutely, freaking lootly.
Who would you hire then?
I don't know. I don't know a lot about I don't know enough about college basketball to be saying all that. I
Yeah,
don't. I mean, you got to find somebody. And I hear all that. And you said it before. Like Clemson puts a lot
in their football.
in their football, and that's true. But when you make as much money as they do, dude, I don't know. I just think you need to go out and get yourself a candidate that can produce. I mean, are you just going to stay with Brad Badnell? I mean, sure, Clemson, but they lost in the first round of the ACT tournament. They
Yeah,
lost,
that was the big one for me.
and they lost in the first round to
Miami.
Miami, and
Yeah,
they lost to Rutgers.
yeah,
It's just not good enough, dude. I mean, you can say, oh, they had a great season. Well, they got knocked out in the first round, so in the second round of the ACC, but because they had a high seed, but still, I
yeah.
mean, not great, and it's not good enough. And
It's
they're never
not.
gonna, and they're never going to be like this. At least not under Brad Bunnell. They're not going to be this great ACC power. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Clemson has the potential to be what Florida State is in basketball, where
Exactly.
they're not UNC, they're not Duke, they're not Syracuse, they're not Louisville. However, they should be able to compete. I think if Clemson had done better in the ACC tournament, if they had beaten Miami, beaten Georgia Tech, two teams they definitely should and could have beaten,
Right.
um, I think the loss to Rutgers is a lot more bearable. Rutgers is also it's very similar on talent to Clemson. I feel like kind of a defensive team that barely scrapes by. Um, I going into that game, I think Clemson Rutgers was kind of 60-40 split with Clemson being a favorite. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's an upset per se. I think Clemson was the favorite personally. Um, but I think how horrible Clemson played in the ACC tournament is why Brad Riddell is getting so much
Slap.
garbage right now. Yeah, I mean, he's just getting slammed because I think
They
if he
should have beat Miami. They beat Miami early in the season by like 20 points.
and Georgia Tech, and Georgia Tech won the whole thing.
It just angers me, dude. I just gets on my skin, dude. I don't. But the question, you put a good point out there. You asked me, who would you hire? I don't know. Who would you hire? I mean, who could you bring in? I don't know who's out. I mean, I don't know a lot about college basketball, but I just feel like Clemson's treading water. Where in actuality, they need to be like, I don't know. I feel like the program's just staying the same, not changing. You know what I mean?
I feel like Clemson should kind of do something kind of similar to what Texas did. And I know Texas lost, and we'll get to that in a second. But um, Texas went out and hired VCU's head coach, Shaka Smart.
Right.
And it's really paid off because Texas had not won a Big 12 championship until this year.
Yeah, they were always been awful at basketball.
Yeah, and they had Kevin Durant, and they couldn't win a Big 12 championship. I mean, like, you had Kevin Durant.
Right.
Um, so I think going out and trying to find kind of that niche coach, maybe you look at ORU's coach, maybe you look at Abilene Christian's coach, finding a school that has an up and coming young head coach who can pour some new ideas, some new talent into that program, and could be huge. You've given Brad Brunell, I think, over a decade. I think he's been over there well over 10 years now. Um, I think if Clemson is really interested in making a push for having a good basketball team, you would expect results after 10 years, especially in basketball where player turnover is a lot higher than
He
say
is
football.
he is he's been there for 12 years. This was his 12th year.
Yeah. See, I think if you really are one to say, hey, we want our basketball team to challenge for ACC championships, like our football and our soccer team and whatever else, I think 12 years is maybe too long and to keep seeing the same results over and over.
It is. I don't. I you know. I mean, like I said, the upstate people seem to love Brad Burnell, but and like I said, 12 years, man. You've been out of this program for 12 years, and you just haven't been doing what you need to do. You know what I mean? I don't.
Yeah, and I feel like one of the big problems is, I remember like preseason, Clemson was just kind of they didn't really have the recruits, and Brad Brunell was really going into like the transfer portal to make ends meet. I don't think the talent's really there either. I don't think Brad Brunell's a bad coach. I really don't. I think he's a decent coach, maybe decent to good, maybe above average.
I
But
I think one of the main problems we have, I don't think South Carolina has a lot of great basketball. See, Arkansas, the thing about Arkansas is Arkansas has a lot of great basketball talent,
mhm,
but I feel like South Carolina just doesn't have that. Our state, the state
yeah,
just doesn't have that kind of. I could be wrong about that, but I don't think I am. Like you don't hear a lot about, especially down here. I don't know how it is in the Columbia, in the middle South Carolina or the upper state, but at least in down here, we typically don't have the greatest basketball players.
even if you look at football, like Clemson's team is made up of guys from Florida and Georgia and Virginia. Like there are not a lot of South Carolina guys on Clemson's football team.
Right. So I don't know. That is the topic for discussion later on, but we got to move. Let's move on. I guess I'll get this one out of the way. Arkansas versus Colgate. What can I say about the good old Razorbacks? Um, there's a lot to say. So that first game Arkansas played against Colgate, they were a good team. They're feisty. They got out to a very early lead. They were up 33-17, I believe. And I mean, they were just nailing threes. They were like had more energy. You could tell Arkansas was a little nervous and didn't know what to do. They're a bunch of fun fact I saw today, Arkansas started so Jalen Note and Moses Moody, I think those are the two freshmen we've got. Or no, Jalen Williams and Note. No, Jalen Williams and Moses Moody. Arkansas is the only team in the whole Sweet 16 that started that those two freshmen have played over 30 minutes.
Really?
So we're a young team, so nerves were expected. So Colgate was up 33-17. Arkansas goes in a 17-0 run to take the lead, 36 to 33 at the half, and then Arkansas they tended to go. So in the first 10 minutes of the second half, it was a very close, competitive game. And then I think Arkansas just kind of got out to like a 9, 8, 10 point lead. And there was just nothing any of them could do about it. I think our talent just kind of overwhelmed them. And I was sitting here watching this game. We were the second game of the March Madness for the first day. And I was just sitting here in rage. I was like, we're gonna look so bad. I was like, everybody's gonna be judging Arkansas. They're gonna be like, Arkansas is a bunch of frauds. They're gonna hate us. And I'm like, in actuality, we beat them what 85-68. What is that like 16, 17 points? And was one of the best wins of the day. I didn't give us enough credit for it. And looking at all these other upsets and everything that's happened, we
Got lucky. Really?
actually played really well and did a really good job against a Colgate team that was pretty good.
I think they had one loss all season coming into that game, right?
Yeah, so they only played
I
four
mean,
teams that whole year,
right.
but they only,
Still
I mean, still, I mean,
one.
yeah, they only lost one game. They were the winners of their tournament or whatever. So I think there is something there for discuss. I mean, I was proud. I mean, the game
Yeah.
was really good. I mean, everybody played well.
Yeah.
I was
I mean, it was
disappointed.
came
Connor
back
Vanover, though, stinks.
and won.
We have a guy on our team who's named Connor Vanover. He stinks. I'm not going to drag him too much, though. But that's the end of the Arkansas. We'll go to more Texas Tech. We'll talk about them more later.
Yeah. I think the big one that we'll kind of just run through the round of 64, just kind of the big ones. But Abilene Christian beating
Yeah.
Texas 53-52.
What a terrible game.
I mean, it's one thing if Texas had lost to a 14 seed in general. I think what's striking is that Texas lost to a 14 seed that came out of the state of Texas. That's like saying the Citadel would be South Carolina.
Like they did.
You know? It's just Texas is this big program, and they won the Big 12. They had a lot of potential coming in, and they blew it to Abilene Christian. It just makes no sense. I was just like,
so as you know, well, I'm doing this special rivalry thing for our class.
Yeah,
I had to write a little thing, a little assertion the other day about rivalries, and one of the things I wrote was how Texas schools have it out for Texas, right? So
yeah,
I wrote this thing about TCU always being motivated. My spotlight was on TCU versus Texas. TCU, Gary Danielson, the head coach of TCU, always talk not Gary Danielson. What's his name? It doesn't matter. Head coach TCU was always talking about how
Gary Patterson.
Gary Patterson, that was close. Um, talks about how his team is motivated to play Texas, right? Because they're always disrecognized by Texas. They don't get recruited to Texas. They don't get respected by Texas. But then TCU goes out and blows then doesn't hardly win any other games in the Big 12 because they're only motivated against Texas. It's like
Yeah,
Texas, yeah. Doesn't matter how bad TCU is. I don't think they were very good this past year. Doesn't matter how good Texas is. It's always going to be a tough game. And I wrote about them and the Cowboys. Everybody's coming for them, man. And I don't feel like this was a lot different. Abilene Christian located in Texas, right? So I
yeah,
mean, they're coming for Texas, dude. They're like, I mean, Texas is will always teams will always be uber motivated to play Texas and Dallas. I wrote Dallas Cowboys, and teams will always be uber motivated to play those teams, especially from Texas or anywhere really. But like because they're Texas, and they're like they have like the legacy and the respect and all that. You
tradition, all
haven't
that.
been good in like 20 some odd years in football and or 10 years, about 15, 14 years in football, and whatever. But still, like it's always like Texas. And I feel like that was when I saw that score, I was like, here's another example of a team probably motivated because they're in the NCAA tournament and the fact that they're motivated because they're playing Texas.
In
At the end of
Texas.
the day, Texas always will have a target on their back. That's just gonna
Yep,
be how it is.
yep. I mean, I agree. I think I mean, Texas is a national brand. I mean, if you really think about it, Texas is one of the premier teams of college sports in general, mainly football, obviously. But just because it is Texas, they also have that brand in basketball as well and several other sports. Um, and I think there's like several schools, you know, even if you look at like Oklahoma, Oklahoma doesn't have as big a target on their back
Right.
because I mean it's not as big a brand. It's a big brand, and Oklahoma is one of the premier teams, but it's not as big a brand. Even go back to Clemson before they got super good. Um, you know, everyone was kind of rooting for them to beat Alabama for a while there because like oh my gosh, someone besides Alabama. They're not this big brand. Let's root for them. And Clemson was uber motivated. They were, oh, we're disrespected. Let's go beat Alabama. And then they did, and now it's kind of table of
Kind
turn.
of flipped on Clemson. Everybody wants
But
Clemson to lose. Everybody comes motivated. Clemson's just way better, but I understand what you're saying. But I mean, that's just the way it is right now with Texas, and I think they'll always be like that.
I think so too. Texas just needs to rise above, but
Yeah, yeah, they
we'll
can.
see what happens. Hopefully, it doesn't happen for a while.
Um,
Are there any other games you want to talk about in the round of 64, or do you want to move on to
um,
the next one?
I would like to real quick. UCLA spanked BYU. No surprise there. I think you were out on BYU. Were you out on? Was that? I don't know who that was, but somebody was out, or maybe it was some Barstool person. But
I said BYU was going to lose.
oh, okay. Then it was you. Then BYU was kind of garbage. They were overrated. I don't know if they should
To
have
be fair, I
six.
thought Michigan State was going to go, but it all worked out, I
Well,
guess.
Purdue. That's kind of shocking.
Yeah, Purdue to North Texas. That I mean, I never was really pretty. I wasn't really high on Purdue, anyways. I didn't know anything about North Texas coming into the tournament, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a
I
hard
just
game to predict.
assumed because Purdue's a Big Ten team, they're going to win. But I think that one's a little more easy. You can bear that a little bit more. It's like, okay, Purdue was not even like a top 5 Big Ten team, you know,
What about the Big Ten, dude? They stink.
falling apart.
Yeah, their conference is
Oh,
awful. Now the
oh,
Pac-12 may be the best
Pac-12,
conference in
good.
America.
They look
I
good.
mean, they are slaughtering people. We'll get
Shockingly
to that in a minute.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to the round of 32. I'll run through these real fast as well. And
Uh,
we'll
here
talk
we
about.
go.
Oh yeah, the first one's a
Yeah,
banger.
I know.
Gonzaga beat Oklahoma 87-71. Creighton beat Ohio 72-58. USC beat Kansas. Oh my God, 85-51. What a slaughter. Oregon beat Iowa 95-80. Michigan beat LSU 86-78. Florida State beat Colorado 71-53. UCLA beat Abilene Christian 67-47. Alabama mollywopped Maryland 96-77. Baylor beat Wisconsin 76-63. Villanova beat North Texas 84-61. Arkansas beat Texas Tech 68-66. Oral Roberts beat Florida 81-78. Loyola Chicago beat Illinois, the Battle of Illinois, 71-58. Oregon State whooped up against Oklahoma State. That game really wasn't close.
Yeah.
Syracuse scraped by West Virginia, and Houston beat Rutgers. Houston, I'm not, we kind of bashed Houston.
Houston.
We've bashed Houston. Well, I will say we have bashed Houston this whole. Well, they haven't really played anybody, but we bashed Houston this whole time, and they made
Houston's
it to
gonna
Sweet
lose this.
16. You
Houston's
think Syracuse is going to beat them?
I think so. I think Syracuse is better.
All right.
Uh,
Which ones you want to talk about? I have a couple I want to mention real fast.
yeah. So I kind of want to talk about. Well, let's talk about Oregon State, Oklahoma State first.
Yeah, that's one of the ones I wanted to talk about. That's good.
Yeah, Oregon State kind of come out of nowhere, winning the Pac-12 for I don't know how they did that, but then coming in, beating Tennessee. Tennessee's a pretty good basketball school, and then beat Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State was on fire coming into the tournament,
Yeah, man.
and Cade Cunningham was killing it. I honestly, I thought Oklahoma State was going to go farther. I'm kind of shocked that they didn't. I mean, I don't know a whole lot about this Oregon State team, but they seem to have it together. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, when I watched that game, I was thinking, I was like, Oregon State, dude, they just shot the lights out of the ball and they kept pushing. I mean, if you watch the game, it wasn't close. I mean, when I was watching the game, everybody was tweeting, it's Cade Cunningham time, it's Cade Cunningham time. And it just wasn't Cade Cunningham time, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
And it was just like and Oregon State, they were just doing their thing, I'm looking at the box score. Cade Cunningham scored 24 points, but his team did nothing to help him out. I mean, the next highest score was 16 points, and the next was 13, and then it's all like 6, 4, threes. That's not good enough, man. I mean,
I
Cade
think
Cunningham
it's
can
kind
score
of,
20 points as he wants, but you got to have like more people helping you out.
and that's kind of what I was going to say. Is like, I think this kind of shows Oklahoma State was a one-man wrecking crew. Cade Cunningham is probably the best player in college
Hey,
basketball.
take Cade Cunningham off that team, they probably don't even make. They probably have a losing record.
Exactly. Whereas Oregon, from the little I've seen of Oregon, seems to be very much a team. It's just a team, really. I mean, there's not much to say. They just work together. They have a great chemistry. Um, they just have it all together. It's not just a one-man wrecking crew. It's an entire team working together to get things done.
There
Whereas
definitely was more.
they tried to rely on one guy if you shut him down, which they didn't totally shut him down, but they shut him down enough to win.
Now I'm looking at the box score right now. Um, and so I guess they had this guy. I'm gonna look at his name real fast. Ethan Thompson. He scored 26 points. Wow, a lot of points for that guy. And then um and I mean, if you look at the team, I had a good amount of points on their starters scored a good amount of points, and they had a good amount of bench points. So overall, I think it was a good performance by Oregon State. I mean, what else can you say?
They
You know,
look good, and they got moving into the next matchup, Loyola versus Illinois.
I know. I'm looking forward to that. That's a wow. That is I mean, the Midwest region,
Shocking.
Sweet 16 is freaking bonkers. Loyal Chicago versus Oregon State and Syracuse versus Houston. I mean, I'm not sure if I want to I'm not sure if I want to intently watch that or just be like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen before in my life. I'm not sure. Like I'm either like halfway like that Loyola Chicago versus Oregon State game is going to be fire. It's going to be so good.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
Syracuse. Oh, what do you want to go?
No, I was just gonna say Loyola beating Illinois.
Yeah, that's
Um,
crazy too. And it whooped them.
yeah, I mean,
Whooped them.
Illinois just could not catch up. I mean, I was like, okay, Illinois is a very good defensive team. They're going to start getting all the rebounds and all this stuff, and they just could not get it done. It was Loyola looks good. I mean, they pounded Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, I mean, not the best team in the ACC, but they did win the ACC tournament. I mean, it should be an asterisk there, but whatever. Um, Illinois, I thought was going to go to the championship game. I thought that, at least the Final Four.
A lot of people picked them in our bracket competition.
Yep. So huge upset, and now we get to see the continuation of one of the Cinderellas between Loyola or Oregon State. I consider Oregon State a Cinderella because I mean,
Maybe they're better than we thought they were. I actually was kind of high on Oregon State, believe it or not, in the beginning of and near the end of the season. I was giving out when I was giving out betting picks.
yeah,
I gave out Oregon State as a betting pick, and it won. You know, it was
yeah.
only -1. They had to win the game, but still, I was like, man, Oregon State, dude. I don't know, kind of funny that kind of happened. In the Midwest region, one more game I want to cover. Not
Mhm.
real. I want to not cover it. I'm just going to say one thing and we move on. Syracuse beat West Virginia. Buddy Boeheim. I heard this the other day. I want to repeat it on here. Buddy Boeheim is destroying the narrative that all coaches' kids suck. He's actually Syracuse's best player, and the fact that he's their best player makes all it's like I mean, usually like if a coach has a player on the team, they sit on the bench and don't ever play.
Exactly.
Like their best player. All right, so we're gonna move on from there. Oral Roberts beat Florida.
I unfortunately did not get to watch this game in person,
Yeah,
um,
I did. I haven't seen anything about it.
but
Probably should have
but
looked
I
at
did. I was able to kind of keep an eye on it on my phone because I was out of the house at the time, and Oral Roberts had to do a bit of a comeback. They were down. I think they tied it up near the end, and then they just kind of had the advantage and just took it away. um,
it. Yeah, man.
Crazy. I mean, honestly, Florida was maybe not the best team, but still, it's a you beat Ohio State, one of the favorites of the tournament, and then you beat a traditional power, more or less, in Florida. Now you get to face Arkansas and see if it's for real.
Well, I'm not gonna. God, I couldn't imagine. But Arkansas has already beaten Oral Roberts this year. We beat them
Mhm.
by 11, and I think that I'm not gonna say because knocking on wood here, but there's a big difference between do 1 day of preparation and like 6 days of preparation. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I'm not. I don't know. I don't know, but I think Arkansas could win, and they probably should. We definitely got the better talent, but
I think personally, I think Arkansas will win. I I think they're hotter. I think they are more. I mean, I think all the teams that Oral Roberts have played are more talented. But as you said, Arkansas has familiarity. They've already played them.
and we get like time to prepare, and I think that'll just be a different.
They're also like, hey, okay, now we know these guys are coming ready. They're going to be on fire. Let's
But
not play around.
yeah, yeah, yeah. So Arkansas beat Texas Tech 68-66. I mean, what can I say about the great Arkansas Razorbacks? Not a surprise, not a surprise, not a surprise. Arkansas may be the best team in the SEC other than Alabama. Um, I think I think Coach Musselman does such a good job with in-game adjustments. Like for instance, with Colgate, right? So Arkansas usually doesn't play the press,
Yeah.
but when we noticed that Colgate was moving the way they were, we started instating the press, putting in the press. So I think game adjustments and being able to compete, and we had a lead over Texas Tech early in the second. It was like a couple, like a 10-point lead, and they kind of came back a little bit late in the game. But our defense kind of held through, and Note hit some. He hit one big free throw and then missed the other. But
Yeah.
and some people are saying that guy was fouled on that final layup attempt. I don't think so. I think this Arkansas team versus the first team, that was kind of like, okay. And now they're kind of feeling how like they're getting their groove. And the fact that they had like a big win like that, moving on. This is the first time since the spring of 1996, the year of my birth and your birth,
And my birth.
that Arkansas hasn't been to the Sweet 16 in 24 years. 25 years, actually. It would be 25 years this year. Can you believe that?
I mean, that's insane.
I just think when it comes to Arkansas versus Oral, um, Bill Clinton, um, you get that? That's a
I
funny
got
joke.
it.
Nice. But when it comes to Arkansas versus Oral Roberts, like I said, the week and then playing them, we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
Nothing really to talk about in the South. Baylor beat Wisconsin pretty bad. Villanova beat North Texas.
Yeah.
Alabama beat Maryland, slaughtered them. UCLA beat Abilene Christian. What do you want to talk about? You want to talk about that?
I mean, not really. I think Abilene Christian got really lucky against Texas. They put all their marbles on the table against Texas.
That might be the biggest win in their program ever.
Yeah,
Definitely. At all time. So
UCLA
like,
is a good team. I expected UCLA to win it, and they did.
yeah, I mean, they got a good coach too, McCronin. So I mean, Abilene Christian's one of those teams that probably like College of Charleston hangs a banner every time we go to the NCAA tournament. So Abilene, they should hang a banner. The fact that they got to the round of 32 is nothing short of a miracle.
Yeah.
Michigan beat LSU. Some tough calls at the end of that game. Whatever. Screw LSU. I hate them. I'm glad to see them out. But wait, such a scumbag cheater. LSU's such a scumbag university. I used to pull for LSU years ago, ever since they beat Clemson. And then, they're such a scumbag university. God, I hate LSU. Scumbags. Anyway, I'm not going to get in. I'm glad they lost. I am extremely, extremely, extremely glad they lost. They stink. Oregon beat Iowa. I actually watched this entire game at the gym. I wouldn't watch it normally, but I was at the gym. I was exercising and it was on. And Oregon is a machine. Like the way they scored, I don't know if Iowa just didn't play any defense at all, but the way that Oregon scored is really just. I mean, I watched most half of the first half and most of the second half. And when I was watching it, I was cheering for Iowa because Luke, who Luca Garza is? He's a
Yeah.
big old dude they have for
Friend.
like the best Iowa player ever or whatever. Anyway, I was cheering for him. And Oregon, man, I would cheer for Iowa when they stopped Oregon State like one time. Oregon State would score on their possessions. Had to be like 85% of the time, that whole game. They would just score. I'm going to look at the box score for Oregon real fast because they scored. Yeah, that's what I'm saying, dude. Oregon, oh my God, their starters is what did all the scoring. So their bench had a total of 6 points. And their first starter had 9 points. Their second had 17. The next had 23. The next one had 21. And the next one had 19. Their starters just scored all the points. I think I was watching. Now that I'm reading that, I think I was watching it like halfway through the second half. Their bench had no points. Absolutely insane. USC mollywopped Kansas, Creighton mollywopped Ohio, and Gonzaga mollywopped Oklahoma.
Okay, so I want to talk about this one just for a second. It started out great. It started out Oklahoma, I think, took a 9-point lead over Gonzaga, and then they figured it out. Gonzaga figured it out. All you have to do is stop Oklahoma's point guard, Austin Reeve. You just have to double team him because he is the offense. If you double team him, Oklahoma cannot score. It frustrated me to no end. Oklahoma would literally, Austin Reeve would pass it out to one of our players, wide open, inside the paint, and they would miss. and they just kept missing and missing and missing. And Austin Reeves could not get into a position to shoot. Oklahoma was with Gonzaga until Gonzaga made the change. Like, hey, we just got to stop Austin Reeves and we'll win this game. And they did it. And we literally just could not score again. I mean, that's just how it went. Unfortunately, Oklahoma's road ends here. Gonzaga's a great team. They're going to play Creighton next. They should beat Creighton, honestly, but we'll see what happens. But yeah, it really frustrated me. I had to stop watching halfway through the second half. It was like,
there's nothing you can do, dude.
You're wide open, and you miss every single time.
Yeah, I get it because that's how Arkansas is, man. That's how Arkansas. I feel like the other team, we could be in their face, like have hand in the face, and he shoots and he scores. Arkansas could be wide open, and then nothing. I get it. I've been there. I understand better than most people. I get it. But so that concludes the round of 32. Congratulations, Ryan. We made it. Everything from here will be smooth sailing.
It's going to be a lot shorter now when we got the bulk majority of the games out of the way. Sweet 16 looks fun. I mean, it got some cool matchups. I'm excited to see Gonzaga, Creighton.
Yeah, let me run through them real quick.
Go for it.
Oh, Gonzaga plays Creighton, USC plays Oregon, Michigan plays Florida State, UCLA plays Alabama. That'll be a good one.
That'll be fun.
Baylor versus Villanova, that'll be good too. Arkansas versus Oral Roberts, the funnest. Loyola Chicago versus Oregon State. Like I said, I'm not sure if I want to kill myself or watch that. Syracuse or Houston. That's gonna suck. I have decided. Loyola Chicago versus Oregon State. It will be a good game. Syracuse versus Houston. Freaking awful.
Blowout.
I wanted to say the F word there, but I will not. I'll hold myself back. That game's gonna suck balls. Arkansas versus Oral Roberts. We play this Saturday at 7:30. Pretty exciting. Saturday prime time Hawks. But I'm pretty excited. Baylor Villanova will be good. And that kind of is it. Any particular matchup you want to talk about or no?
I'm super interested to see UCLA Bama. I'm kind of rooting for UCLA.
I am absolutely. Screw Alabama. I hate them as much as I hate LSU.
I kind of like to think of UCLA as a basketball school, going back to like the John Wooden days, way back when, before we were born, obviously. But I would like to see UCLA get some basketball glory, make it to the Elite Eight at least. I would love to see an upset there.
Right. Well, like I already talked about most of these games, so all right. Well, if that concludes most of our March match, I'll do one more thing real fast.
Okay.
Knowing the field like you know it, who do you think ends up in the Final Four?
Dang. All right.
So if you need to break some stuff down for you, I can. I have it in front of me.
I think Final Four will be, goodness gracious, Baylor.
That one.
Let's see, Baylor, Syracuse, shockingly.
I think it's gonna be Syracuse.
I think so.
Yeah, you think? No way.
I think so. I think Syracuse. I mean, if you look at their route, I mean, it's.
Yeah, buddy. They're gonna be Loyola, Chicago, Oregon State, or Syracuse, Houston. Ugh, what an awful.
Yeah, that side's kind of.
Whoever Baylor or Villanova or Arkansas or Roberts, I guess, are gonna wipe up in that Final Four.
I'm rooting for UCLA to get to the Final Four.
That'd be sick. I just don't think they could beat Michigan.
I think Gonzaga's going to make the Final Four as well. I think.
I don't know the way that USC played the other night. Or too. I know only one of those teams can make it. Gonzaga had one of the easiest routes of all time to the Final Four. Now, I think whoever they play, USC or Oregon, will get a run for their money. But for the most part, they're going to have a walk in the park. That Michigan-Florida State game is going to be good.
That's going to be a fun one.
That's going to be a barn burner.
Yeah.
All right. Well, that concludes our March Madness coverage for the round of 32, the Sweet 16, and round of 64. Man, I need a nap. I need to go to bed. All right. So I wanted to get him on here the last couple minutes and talk about the future of the pod, the future of what me and Ryan are gonna be doing. We gotta go. So we had the State of the Union today, and the state of our union is strong. Is there strong, Ryan?
Super strong.
Super strong. So, but we are switching it up. We're switching it up. We're switching it up. So when I came out with this podcast, I had this brand, this vision, and I think I was wrong. As hard as for me to admit it, I think I was wrong. But so I kind of had the idea of doing like a national spotlight kind of thing, where Ryan hasn't convinced me. I don't want to give him too much credit, but he has opened my eyes to the idea that we need to start doing more regional stuff. And by regional, I mean we're going to do a lot of Arkansas content. We're going to do a lot of Clemson content. We're going to do a lot of Oklahoma content. And we're going to even do some USC content as much as it makes me want to puke. You're going to see a lot of we're going to cut back on the FCS stuff. I kind of like this episode. And you're going to see a little cutback there. But for the most part, we're going to keep going with like everything that what am I trying to say? We're trying to kind of make it more centralized. We're trying to make it more like we want to branch an Arkansas audience, a Clemson audience, a USC, and an Oklahoma audience. So
Exactly. We know our audience. We know that a lot of y'all listening.
well, like 100% of y'all so far.
Pretty much. Y'all are Clemson. You're South Carolina fans. I got some people on my side who are Oklahoma fans. There's some Arkansas fans out there, I'm sure.
Yeah, baby.
We just kind of want to centralize
My grandpa.
to kind of market towards you guys, more stuff that y'all want to hear. If there is anything that you specifically want to hear, let us know. We'd love to talk about it. And we're still going to be talking about some of the more major news. If something happens in Georgia, something happens in Alabama, the Southern Cal, something happens in Southern Cal. We'll talk about that too. But we're mainly going to focus on what you as our fan base want to hear, and we'll kind of branch out from
saying that out loud. Our fans, thank you all our loyal fans. That's funny. But yeah, so that's going to be the future path. When you watch this video, we're gonna start uploading more, and it's not going to be so we're going to have the main podcast release.
Yeah.
But for instance, we're planning on hopping on Saturday night after Arkansas plays to talk about the Hogs, whether they win or lose. We're going to be on regardless, and if they win again, we'll hop on again. On one day, we'll talk. So that's kind of where we're at right now. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm pretty excited about where we're going, what we're doing, the branch of the pod. We just needed to I felt like we were a little treading water a little bit. So I feel like now we're kind of got an idea. We've got a plan. So we're going to stick with it. We're going to keep going. So that's kind of the end of the episode. Ryan, any last thoughts?
No, I'm just excited to see what we're going to do next. And, stay tuned. And, if y'all have any questions or anything y'all want to see us talk about, let us know.
Yeah, definitely. And don't forget,
text us, whatever.
Like, subscribe, comment, text, whatever you have on. Most of the fans have the number. Follow us at TNR Sports on Instagram. Like and subscribe on YouTube. Follow on Spotify. And I don't know what you do on Apple Podcasts, but now that we have Apple Podcast out, like and subscribe on there too, I guess. Let me look real fast. I actually have no idea.
It's probably like a follow or something like that.
Yeah, I think you just follow. Yeah, that's what I did. I did that earlier already. So that's it. That's the end of the pod. Thanks for liking, comment, and subscribing. All right, bye. This is kind of a jam. Bum, 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 bum.